I think of the homosexual, so-called marriage debate is just the utter lack of monogamy. That's something that's not really in that. And so once you start tearing down the otherness.
Wait, what? They're asking to be married. Doesn't that imply monogamy? Did I miss something? How does this tear down monogamy when gay people want to be monogamous?
There are also increases in the homosexual community in other areas like depression, suicidal thoughts, and attempted suicide. And these things they all seem to go together in substance abuse and this sort of stuff.
I wonder why people who are disproportionately discriminated against and kicked out of their homes because they are gay, largely because of dumb fuck ideas spread by dipshits like this guy, are committing suicide at a higher rate. If only there was some kind of an external reason for that. No, it must just be the gay gene also gives them the suicide gene. I got it. Titled, How Can Homosexuality Be Wrong If It Doesn't Harm Anyone? So this will be a very interesting video. Coming from the Gospel Coalition. Ooh, listen up, boys. This is spooky, okay? So I'm figuring what we'll do is first we're going to go through this video, which is how being gay is bad according to a Christian. Then we're going to go over this video, which is the secular case against homosexuality, also coming from a Christian. Keep in mind that both videos are equally pathetically stupid, but I think the secular case is worse. I have a lot of data points here that I looked into beforehand, so we'll go over that one next, okay? Let's find out what the Gospel Coalition has to say. Hopefully they don't take a musket and blast it at me. Let's go.
So Russell, Bodie, a lot of Christians seem to lose their footing when they're talking with a neighbor about homosexuality. In trying to explain why it's wrong. I mean, they know how to quote maybe a couple Bible verses, but explaining the wrongness of it, especially when the response is, well, it's not hurting anybody, so how could it be wrong if it's not harming anybody? What would you guys say to that?
I like that it's in black and white, too. Really gives it like a nice, serious vibe, you know? Look, guys, it's in black and white. Clearly nothing they're going to say here is incorrect. Look at this nice mood lighting. Yeah. All right, let's find out.
Well, I would say, first of all, you have to ask, what is this for? What is sexuality for? And so if we believe that God designed this, then that means that there's a purpose to it. And the complementarity of a man and a woman in a marriage relationship, fidelity, one flesh, that stands behind the whole reason for the design of sexuality. It's not just...
So, right off the bat, his argument here is absolutely fucking pathetic. One, why should we believe that it's your God who designates sexuality? Two, in order to now believe that being homosexual is wrong, you first have to become a Christian, which is never going to fly. We have to admit that God made sexuality and acknowledge that. No, I don't acknowledge that. And I don't think anyone else should either. So you're not actually explaining why it's wrong. Again, you're explaining why it's wrong from a Christian perspective. This is like me saying, hey, I'm trying to think of an example. Like cars are bad. Okay, cars are really bad. Well, why are cars bad? They're not hurting anyone. Well, you see, according to my ideology, which already says that driving a car is bad, we have to recognize that God created us with legs to walk. So, by using a car, you're violating God's will because you're not using your legs to walk. Okay, I guess you've explained why you think cars are bad in your mind, but that's not going to convince anyone else. Because they don't believe in your God.
Design of sexuality is not just an individual matter. It's something that has to do with binding those two together in connection with future generations and with the generations that have come before. So it's kind of a big picture discussion about why do we even have sex? What's the purpose here? And the other problem is what a lot of our gay and lesbian neighbors assume is that we have marriage and we're wanting to restrict this marriage and we're not wanting them to have it. So we're wanting to keep something to ourselves. What we're saying is not, we don't want you to be able to get married. We're saying that same-sex marriage is impossible based upon what sexuality and what marriage is.
So now you see we instantly have to go the theocratic fascist route, where now, although the institution of marriage is absolutely a state-run institution, and the First Amendment restricts any kind of state institution from showing favoritism to one religion, you cannot restrict marrying or giving marriage licenses to gay and lesbian couples on the basis of your religious contention. You realize that, right? And you realize that if you try to, then now you're advocating for an uprooting of a certain institution to be then replaced with your own religious version of that institution. That is theocratic fascism, my friend. And it's not going to fucking fly. So when you say it's just not marriage, it is by definition marriage. Like, just if you don't consider it marriage, again, doesn't really mean anything. I don't know how this is showing that being gay is actually wrong. You're just explaining from a Christian worldview why you think it's wrong.
So it's not that we're trying to disappoint our neighbors. We're saying this is for the good of human flourishing, and we love you. That's the reason why. Not
No, I hate that he smuggled that in for the good for human flourishing. No, actually, restricting other people's rights and their ability to live their lives freely and happily and get married in the land of the free is not actually benefiting human flourishing at all. You're harming human flourishing because we already know, for example, that gay people have higher rates of depression, suicidality, and drug use, and a lot of that is because of societal discrimination and oppression. You're not lending to the flourishing of humanity right now. You are restricting humanity from flourishing. So don't try to smuggle that one in there, you chuckle fuck.
Not only do we say that we think there's some restrictions for you, there's some restrictions on us in terms of what this looks like.
Yeah, the restrictions for you is like, oh, we first have to, be Christians together, blah, blah, blah. The restrictions for them is you're not actually married according to God. Shut up, dude.
Have been.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important point. And I think people also need to understand two things. One, we say it's not harming anybody. It's me in my bedroom. Well, the current debate about marriage explodes that myth. This is not private. This is pressing upon culture as a whole. And because
okay, the discussion about this isn't private. Yes, because we have people like you who want to restrict their rights from doing something that is private. Okay. Yeah, so he's now saying because the conversation is public, that means it's not a private thing that happens in somebody's bedrooms. The act of gay sex happens in private in someone's bedroom. The discussion about whether or not gay people should be allowed to be legally married is a public discussion. These things are not the same.
Because they framed it in civil rights language, it means that this is the greatest farce ever. You can go ahead and practice your religion. This has nothing to do with you practicing your religion. If this is a civil
Wait, that's true.
rights issue, and if us not doing weddings for homosexuals or not hiring homosexuals becomes violating civil rights, then it is not conceivable that the church will.
So, first of all, notice now that this video came out like 6 or 7 years ago. This video came out in 2014. I'm only going over it because I was sent this video by a Christian. Churches have not been forced to do gay weddings. Second of all, like most gay people, if they're smart, wouldn't want to get married in your dumb church. Second of all, I like how he's like, if we don't want to hire a gay person, yeah, actually, congratulations, pal. That is a violation of civil rights because people who are genetically set up to be gay, who exist as being gay and cannot change that, shouldn't be discriminated against on the basis of their sexuality when it comes to job performance or when it comes to hiring them for a job. This is like a 2 brain cell talking point, of course. And I like how he just kind of went mask off there. And now that this is a civil rights thing, if we don't want to hire gay people, then we might get in trouble. Yes. Congratulations, loser. If you want to discriminate against gay people, if their sexuality has no bearing on their job performance, but you don't want to hire them because they're gay, yes, you're being discriminatory. And what's funny is this dude, it's really ironic that this is coming from a black guy too, because these are the exact talking points that people would make when we were talking about the civil rights movement for black people. Exactly. Oh, well, now I'm going to have to hire black people in my business. I don't want to have to do that. Now I'm going to have to see black people going down the street. I don't want to have to see that. Ew. They were the exact same talking points then as the talking points that you're giving now in regards to gay people.
Be unharmed by this. So that myth is exploded. This is not private, this is public. The other thing is that all legal decisions are based on principles and established precedent. And right now the principle is, sort of the Beatles mentality. All you need is love. Well, if that's the case, if marriage is based on popular opinion and who loves each other, the 50-year-old man and the 12-year-old boy, the man and his daughter, so on and so forth. And everybody say, oh, red herring. No, not once the principle is established.
Ah, here we go. Yes, because these are exactly the same, my friend. He's doing the, if we allow gay people to get married, then people will marry their dogs. He's doing that thing. He's doing it right now. And it is a red herring, dude. Because again, notice how pedophilic relationships do harm. There is no way that an underage person can legally consent to that kind of a relationship. It is always intrinsically wrong and harmful. But being gay doesn't. And you're trying so desperately to twist it and be like, well, according to the Bible, if you follow my religion, then you'll see that it's actually wrong, kind of according to this, and if you twist what marriage means, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't fucking matter, my friend. America was founded on the Enlightenment, which, although America did have inspiration from some Judeo-Christian principles, America was not founded to be a Christian nation. That's why people came to America, because they didn't like that they were forced to go to the Church of England and worship their God, or worship the way that they said. That's part of the reason why America is so strict about separation of church and state. And when you have the state managing marriage licenses, you don't get to say, well, my church says this, because the church and the state are separate entities, my friend. And then he tries to go down this slippery slope thing that, oh no, we're gonna, what about the pedophiles? Oh, boo-hoo. Again, that's illegal for good reason. The principle there is that it is illegal because it does harm to a child. Two gay adults getting married consensually does no harm to anybody, other than maybe it hurts their feelings, but that doesn't really count. There was something else he said too.
And his daughter, so on and so forth. And everybody said, oh, red herring.
Oh yeah, he said that there needs to be a precedent set there. You realize there kind of is, right? Like in 2000, was it 2000 or 2001? The Supreme Court ruled that you cannot make a law against sodomy, for example, that you cannot police people's sexual behavior so long as it's consensual and going on between two adults. You cannot police that. You can't legislate that. So if you really want to appeal to the precedent was already there, buddy.
No, not once the principle is established. So this is not private, and it doesn't stop here.
Yeah, I think we ought to even challenge the principle that just because something doesn't harm, that takes it out of the realm of morality.
Yeah.
If you cheat on your wife and she never finds out about it and you lie about it, is it wrong? And I think most people would say yes, because lying is inherently wrong.
Yeah.
No. See, you don't have to say because lying is inherently wrong. That's not even correct. Lying is not inherently wrong. If you have Anne Frank hiding up in your attic and the Nazis ask, do you have anybody in your attic, and you say no, that's an okay lie to tell. Lying is not necessarily wrong. This is why you need to apply some kind of a situational ethics onto this thing. Second of all, if you cheat on your wife and then she never finds out about it, that still does a harm, you know. It does a harm to you. That leads to a psychological turmoil and guilt and feelings of inadequacy amongst yourself. You're doing harm to yourself, dude, by cheating on your wife. Not only that, you have signed into a legal agreement to be loyal and faithful to your wife. So not only are you acting in a way that results in harm to you, you're acting in a way that is illegal, arguably, and you're acting in a way that she doesn't, like, even if she doesn't find out, it's still harmful. And also, come on, if somebody's having an affair, it's only a matter of time until the partner finds out about the affair. And when they do, that will also lead to an additional harm. You can pretty easily view morality through the lens of, is this harmful or is it not? Lying repeatedly, if you become known as a liar, that is going to hurt your ability to navigate society. That's going to hurt your ability to be trusted by people in social circles. All things that will then come back to negatively affecting your mental health.
And that is what the Creator called marriage. Right. The Achilles heel right now of the homosexual so-called marriage debate is just the utter lack of monogamy. That's something that's not really in that. And so once you start tearing down the otherness.
Wait, what? They're asking to be married. Doesn't that imply monogamy? Did I miss something? How does this tear down monogamy when gay people want to be monogamous? Okay.
Of marriage, the sanctuary of monogamy, that lifelong faithfulness into which a family arises, the harmful effect may not be demonstrably immediate, but I think you'll see it. And I think a lot of surveys start to bear that out.
Well, one of the things I think that...
What surveys bear what harm out? What surveys show this? Does he think that, gay people just are intrinsically not monogamous?
Is why this is such a confusing thing for a lot of evangelical teenagers, is because we have been talking as though marriage is an individual matter between two people. Our wedding ceremonies, couples are writing their own vows.
Right.
They're dictating the terms, and this is our big day where
Preach
we're
it,
celebrating our vows.
Wait, yeah, that's a good thing. Is this supposed to be a bad thing? People think that their marriage is just between the two people, and they just want to write their own wedding vows. Wait, I guess are we supposed to pray and hope that God writes the wedding vow for you? Instead of manna falling from the sky. It'll be like wedding vows. Is that it?
And that's not what marriage is in a Christian context.
Yeah.
And so even when for a long time you've had
Wait, can you explain? How is that not marriage in a Christian context? You just said one man, one woman. Does it have to be between God also? Because if you're going to go that route, then you would literally have to bite the bullet that atheists can't get married.
Christian churches, couples who are newly married, and the people are coming by and saying, now make sure that you wait a long time before you have children so that you're able to enjoy one another.
Right.
As though you can't enjoy one another
Right.
raising up children together. Well, you're already
Right.
surrendering to the terms that the rest of the culture says.
Wait, no, that's not what that means either. He's interpreting this in a super uncharitable way. What they mean is that having kids is very busy. It's time consuming and it's expensive. And I have kids, okay? It does take away from time that you could be spending with your partner. There's nothing wrong with waiting to have kids for a little while.
Discussions lost.
Let's
We
go
just-
back. Let's go back.
5 rather than the way bigger definition of what marriage is and start grounding that back in Ephesians 5 rather than the ways that we've commented.
Okay, cool. So he brings up Ephesians 5. That's perfect. Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us. Submit to one another. Wives, submit to your husbands. Yeah, so this is the verse we've already gone over, where it is talking about how marriage is supposed to be directly analogous to the church. So if you're going to define marriage this way, you absolutely will need to acknowledge that atheists cannot get married. You would need to bite that bullet then, because atheists aren't emulating the love of Christ and the church. They don't even believe in that shit. So should they not get married? Is that a sin now too? What they're talking about, it's funny because they claim that gay people are going to redefine tradition or whatever. But what these Christians right here are advocating for is literally redefining how marriage is, how it's recognized among society, so that they can keep gay people out.
Related to this, what role does the church have right now in speaking about this issue? I mean, there's some who say this discussion's lost. We just need to let the world be the world, and we'll just focus on the church. I mean,
You know, the fact of the matter is we're in this world, although we're not of this world.
So let me just establish that 5 minutes in of the 10-minute video, they have not actually demonstrated how homosexuality is wrong in any way, shape, or form. All they've said is the exact same bullshit talking points we hear 1,000 billion times before, which is, well, according to the Bible, it's wrong. According to God, it's bad. They haven't actually said anything to demonstrate what makes it wrong other than because God says so. It always comes back to that.
Although we're not of this world. The fact of the matter is the church is the pillar and the ground of truth. And we don't take the truth and hide it under a bushel. That's not the church. We don't live these completely separate, sort of bifurcated lives. That we are.
No. You do. You absolutely do, because there is a separation of church and state. So unless you are going to tell me that you're actually against the foundational principles of America and you're going to go full anti-America on everybody, there is absolutely a separation. And also know the church is not the pillar of truth. The church is the pillar of truth for you, but not for general society. Because again, there is separation of church and state. I don't even think it's obvious. I think that since they're talking very softly and calmly, it doesn't read as some kind of like nefarious thing, but they are actually making borderline fascistic and authoritarian arguments here.
The salt that preserves. And so it's just completely, it's inconceivable that we would not speak to this issue.
I had a pastor tell me not long ago, he said, why don't we just say...
So notice now what they're saying is they want to speak on this issue. They have to. It's unconceivable to not speak on this issue. Okay, so if you are speaking on this issue, opposing gay people getting married, gay people are also going to respond by saying, no, we think we should be married. But earlier you were saying that because gay people are advocating for this thing publicly, that blows up the argument that this is just a private act. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You people are constantly preaching against gay people because you think it's God's holy will or some nonsense. And in response, gay people are saying, no, actually, we deserve to have this right. There is a separation of church and state. The marriage licenses shouldn't be withheld from us simply because we're gay. That isn't fair. That's not equality here. And you're saying, ha, see how they're talking about it publicly? This isn't actually a private thing at all. They are fulfilling their own claim. They're making it a reality.
Let's allow everybody to redefine marriage on the outside, and we'll just maintain Christian marriage on the inside of the church.
Yes.
That's, well, we tried that with the divorce culture.
Yeah.
And what happens? We wind up with churches that have said, we're just going to allow this to take place, no fault divorce on the outside, not speak to it, and then speak.
Wait, divorce is highly contextual though, right? Why was the church okay with the divorce? Because we just went over something not too long ago, a couple months ago, of the mega church doing the opposite, saying that the wife was at fault for daring to divorce her husband, who is now in prison for molesting and beating his children.
To it internally, and that collapses into the church. It transforms the nature of the church, number one. Number two, it's not loving to neighbor. We have an accountability to one another. Divorce hurts kids, hurts families, hurts the entire social fabric. So does...
Okay, that's true, but you know what else hurts kids and hurts social fabric or whatever is two people trying to raise a child when those two people hate each other, don't get along, and there's constant fighting. That's also really bad for the kids. Sometimes you have to choose just the lesser of two evils. These Christians seem to hang on to some super mega idealistic perception that it's either the big, mean, secular atheists that want all marriages torn apart, or the good, perfect, happy, and healthy biblical marriage where the children are thriving, the man and the woman are together, they are living out God's promises, the land of milk and honey. Like, sometimes that's not how it is. Sometimes it's a marriage where it's rocky, they're not getting along, the husband and wife have changed for whatever reason. They're in two different places of life. They're fighting. There's constant tension. That's not healthy for a child. So maybe in that case, divorce would be the better option. This is why I say divorce is super contextual. And for them to say divorce culture, we allowed for divorce, is not only pathetically stupid, but it's just blatantly ignorant as well. What are you going to tell to the woman who married a guy who she thought was great, but after marrying him, he became abusive, raped her constantly, and was also stealing money from her? What do you say then? Is your answer just press on because God says so? And then in that case, now it's you people that are actually advocating for the harm. Now it's you people that are saying something is not wrong, even though it's resulting in a harm.
As the expanding out of marriage to where marriage doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why the state is involved in marriage in the first place. State doesn't have anything to do with registering people as friends, doesn't have anything to do with those things. It has an interest in male-female marriage because male-female marriage can lead to something very dangerous for the state, and that is children. And the state has to say, who is the father of this child? Who's accountable for paying?
What? What? This is just not true. The state also manages foster care systems where a lot of kids get adopted as well.
Christians either saying, well, why are you surprised? That's them, this is us. Or saying, well, the state has no business and no place in marriage. And I think you just succinctly addressed that.
Nobody believes that.
Yeah, it's
unless you have children who are abandoned on the side of the road and the state has no interest. If that's the kind of world you want to live in.
Right.
Wait, the state managing marriage licenses is far more for tax purposes. You think if the state wasn't involved with marriage, they would just abandon kids? You realize that happens anyway, right? And there's different state agencies to handle if something like that happens, unrelated to the state institution of marriage.
Gonna need to happen a lot more on local church level.
So that's the end of this video. Damn, that was painful. I don't even know what was the argument made here. All they said in a much long-winded way was just that homosexuality is bad because God. That was their point. They just said it in a more drawn-out, boring way. Well, actually, because God in the first Ephesians, blah, 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 defines marriage as this, the state cannot actually get involved. What are you talking about? I figured we would go through this video and take a look at what exactly is the secular case against homosexuality. You'll see here that it is an old video. This isn't something that was like just posted that I have to respond to. Ooh. But no, it was a couple years old now, but who fucking cares, right? This video was sent to me. It's apparently being used to justify homophobia. Let's go and give it a look.
But I want to talk for a minute about the secular case against homosexuality. We've already touched on a couple topics related to it, but let's do this. Why do we want to do this? Well, you might be like, I don't need a secular case. I got the biblical case. Well, you're right. You don't need one for you, but you want to influence other people in good directions in their lives. And also, there is a secular case. There's a lot of reasons here. And the info I'm about to share with you, it shows the great danger of homosexual activity for homosexuals.
Great danger. If you are gay and you have a loving partner, then look out, okay? You are in grave danger. It's as if there's a massive tornado heading right towards you.
Great great danger. You may have thought it was unhealthy, but you'll probably be surprised to find out how unhealthy it actually is.
Ooh.
And also because some believers who know the biblical case, they think it's wrong, but they're acting like it's okay. And for them to see that there's a biblical and secular case might help bring them over to saying, okay, take a stand. Take a stand out of love for the gay community, who is being pushed.
I hate this one. I hate the virtue signal every time. This is why being gay is bad. This is the grave danger with the homos. Ooh. But it's because we love them, you see. It's coming here because we love the gays. We just care about them. It's concern trolling. It's so fucking cringe. Stand against these people's rights to live freely because you love them. Right. Uh-huh.
Of political agendas into doing self-destructive behaviors. So the secular case is going to ask these questions. What impact does homosexual behavior have on individuals in general, the ones who engage in the behavior, and the ones that they directly impact? And what impact
I think I know where this is going.
Have on society as a whole? So those are two different questions that I think are valid for a secular case regarding. Secular doesn't mean anti-biblical, it just means in addition to, other than. So we want to determine, should we encourage this behavior or not? I mean, the current issue is not just live and let live. That's been going on for a long time. This is about approving. I mean, society, as courts and laws and this sort of thing, and even just public opinion, we could do one of four.
You going off on Christianity, but how do you feel on Muslims about gays? Yeah, Muslims are also extremely unaccepting of gay people, and that too is fucking stupid. Islam believes a whole ton of dumb shit, that there's like this Allah mystical God and you have to pray like 50 times a day. Yeah, Muslims believe in extremely deranged, stupid beliefs as well. Again, though, I say this all the time, I focus on Christianity more because Christianity is the predominant religion in this country. It has far more influence on the policies which are implemented today. So, yeah, you have anti-gay Muslims, and those people should be condemned and called out for being, fucking dumb. But I focus on Christianity more because that has way more of a impact on everybody. Not to mention, there's also the fact that American Muslims are more accepting of gay people than white evangelical Christians.
Four things. We can prohibit behavior like murder. You're not allowed to do that. That's prohibited. We can discourage behavior like smoking. There's extra taxes on it and things like this, and it's discouraged, and you can't do it in certain places at certain times. We could protect behavior. We not only allow it, but we actually protect it, like speech. Free speech. Speech is a protected thing we have. And we could even reward behavior like marriage or military service. Certain behaviors we actually reward as society. So we're kind of saying, where is homosexual behavior on this scale? Should it be prohibited, discouraged, protected, rewarded, or just, laissez-faire, just kind of allowed? At the very least,
he's going to say it should be discouraged.
What I'm about to share with you says this: it should not be rewarded. It certainly shouldn't be rewarded and encouraged to increase. In short, homosexual behavior is bad for individuals and society because, well, for one, it's related to various physical afflictions, which you're not going to get argument on either side on this issue. There are, obviously, we know about AIDS. I'll come back to that in a minute, HIV and AIDS.
Yeah, I had a very good feeling this is where it was going, of course. How is gay marriage being rewarded? Like, what does that even mean? Like, gay people are allowed to get married just like straight people are allowed to get married. Where's the big reward for being gay here? Like, what does this even mean? Don't be rewarded. Don't reward the gays.
But there are problems with homosexual behavior that are not related to HIV and AIDS, and it has to do with the particulars of human. I hate to be crude, but because of the plumbing of human beings, your body's not designed for this. So I'll put it that way. There's great details here, but your body's not designed for this. So 1/3 of men.
I despise this argument. Also, your body's not designed for this. Your body is your body. It is designed to use how you please, so long as you aren't harming other people. You, Mr. Mike Wiener, don't get to jump up here and tell me what my body is designed for or what it's meant for. I've used this argument before, but this is the equivalent of saying humans are designed to run because we have legs. No, you can walk, you can run, you can sit, you can do all kinds of things with legs. There is no thing that we are designed to do. So I have no idea why they continuously make this argument. It's very annoying.
And who engage in regular homosexual receptive behavior have chronic incontinence or failures of the sphincter muscle because it's been damaged by the behavior. Chronic incontinence.
So again, this is not necessarily true. It's very external here right off the bat. So for example, would he be okay with homosexuality if they only ever did oral sex? What if they never do anal sex? There's a lot of gays, that aren't into anal sex. A lot of them are just into mutual masturbation and oral sex. In that case, are you cool with the gays then? Are you down with the gays, buddy? What do you think his answer would be? No. His answer would still be no. Because he is trying to build a case against gay people based on a potential harm, not an intrinsic necessary harm. Second of all, even if you're right that it can hurt the sphincter, I think that also you have a right to a degree to harm yourself because it's your body. Obviously, if you harming yourself is leading to the harm of other people, then we have an issue then, but we let people smoke. We let people drink alcohol. That's harming you. But it's a free country and people are allowed to live their lives freely, even if their ability to, even if their freedom gives them the ability to potentially harm themselves. If it's consensual, if it's not harming other people, then they should be allowed to do what they want to do with their bodies.
Diarrhea, cramps, hemorrhoids, prostate damage, ulcers, and fissures, which invite infections, are all too common amongst those who engage in same-sex behaviors.
So there is obviously a disproportionate rate of AIDS amongst the gay community. But again, a lot of that is external. There are disparities between access to protection. There are disparities between individuals that use the medication necessary versus those that don't. There are disparities there. And again, just if there's the potential for harm doesn't mean that people shouldn't have the right to do it. Like, it doesn't. I'm sorry. Just if you're harming yourself, well, you have the right to harm yourself at the end of the day, man. So, not to mention, isn't there the possibility that, like, having a pregnancy could cause all kinds of issues? People can get, like, anal fissures from not doing anal also, right? You wouldn't say that, oh, you're pregnant, and you got hemorrhoids, so, being pregnant is clearly bad. I really hate this argument because they're like, look at the damage that anal sex can do. That's not exclusive to gay people. And then, would you be okay with gay people if they didn't partake in anal sex? My guess is he would say no.
In 75% of syphilis cases in 2012, they were amongst men who practiced sex with other men in 2012, according to the Center for Disease Control.
Okay, but why? You're not telling us the whole story. You can't just say, they were amongst these people because it was higher, lol. Why? Was it because there are disparities between access to protection? Is that a possibility? It's a very real possibility, actually, even according to healthline.com. Why do gay men have a higher chance of getting HIV? Let's see. It can also, by the way, be spread from vaginal fluids, blood, and breast milk, okay? There are societal HIV risks. Among men who have sex with men, Black and Hispanic men are at higher risk than white men of contracting the virus, according to the CDC. This may be because, according to a 2017 report, Black and Hispanic gay and bisexual men are less likely to take preventative medication. So, anal sex without a condom can be very dangerous. There's also a stigma. It plays a significant role in HIV transmission. Even in areas where same-sex activity is legal, the fear of stigma and discrimination that comes along with it can drive men to hide their sexual identity from healthcare professionals. This creates a barrier to testing and preventative treatment. So this isn't exactly in regards to syphilis or whatever the fuck he said, but in regards to the AIDS issue, it's directly analogous. When there is discrimination and stigma, when there are societal disparities, we're going to see higher rates of STDs amongst that community. But again, it's not an intrinsic thing of being gay.
Keep in mind that this percentage of men the 75% represents about 2% of the population's behavior. So the chances of syphilis are astronomically high amongst men who practice sex with men. The most common disease is something called amoebiasis, and 25 to 40% of homosexual men are affected by that disease. The list goes on. And for sake of time, I'm going to move quickly here, but gonorrhea, chlamydia, various viral infections like anal warts, herpes, hepatitis B, hepatitis A.
You can get, like, almost every STD you just listed off could also be acquired by having sex with a woman. This is about not properly using protection, not taking the proper preventative measures. This is not like something intrinsic to being gay. This is an argument, if anything, against promiscuity, which of course raises your likelihood of getting STDs. But why are gay people sometimes more promiscuous? There's more stigma. There's more discrimination. They're put in situations where that's all too common. None of this is intrinsic to being gay. Ty Green, thank you very much for helping to rebuild my brain cells with your generous $20 donation. The disproportionate HIV rate only applies to gay men, though. For the female rate, the majority, 85% of new diagnoses, are from male to female contact. Also, fissures would probably be rare in lesbians. They hyper-focus on men. That is an excellent point as well. They're talking about men having sex with men. What about women having sex with women? What about that? You realize that if you have like a lesbian who eats out her partner, she too could get gonorrhea or hepatitis or something by partaking in oral sex. So none of this is intrinsic to being gay. You're talking about the risks associated with anal. That's it.
Men who have sex with men have a typical STD rate that over a course of their lives, 75% of them will have STDs.
Is this like because you're gay? This is such a stupid argument, man. This is... I'm trying to think of a comparison here. Like, this is kind of like when people bring up the suicide rate for trans people. It's like, do you think it's because they are trans? Do you think this is because they are gay? No, it's because they're engaging in certain behaviors. It's because there's certain stigmas and discriminations that exist. There are external reasons why this is the case. This is not intrinsic to being gay. Is there anything wrong, for example, with being gay and then living your life celibate? What if you're gay, you've been tested for all of your STDs, your partner's also been tested, you have no STDs, and then you get married and all you ever do is oral sex? Are you okay with gay people then? I would be willing to bet he would still say no.
Over the course of a year, 40% of them will have STDs. The general population has a lifetime STD rate of 16.9%, and that includes in there the homosexual group, and a yearly STD rate of 1.6%. Of course, not for anyone, pretty much, who stays a virgin until they're married, like the scripture declares.
So can gay people stay a virgin until marriage, like the scripture declares? Could gay people do that? Because then you're ready to go, man. Again, he's arguing against promiscuity and just like lumping that in with gay people. It's so dishonest, but these fucks do it all the time.
You don't have to worry. That's you. You don't have to get tested or anything because you're good to go. You're good to go. But I would say that every one of these STDs, with almost no exceptions, is going to have come from people doing what the Bible calls sin. Various cancers, it's not just STDs, cancers such as colon cancer and even breast cancer are higher in the gay community.
Why?
Don't ask me why breast cancer is higher amongst lesbians, but it is. Statistically, it is. And that is acknowledged on pro-gay websites. They're like, hey...
Why? Why is cancer rate higher among gay people? Let's find out. They are at higher risk of certain kind of cancers. Okay. So, lung cancer. Gay and bisexual men are more likely to smoke than heterosexual men. External. Nothing to do with being gay. Congratulations, you're an idiot. If you have HIV, smoking weakens your immune system. What if you don't get HIV? What if you are HIV free and then you have anal sex? Anal cancer is much more likely in gay and bisexual men. The main risk factor for it is having anal sex with men. The risk of anal cancer is even greater if you've been infected with high-risk types of HPV. The risk is also higher if you have many sex partners, if you smoke, or if you have a weakened immune system. Okay. Again, this is an argument against anal sex, not being gay. Skin cancer. Anyone can get skin cancer. You are at a higher risk, though, if you have fair skin, a history of bad sunburns, current or past use of tanning beds, frequent and prolonged sun exposure, a weakened immune system. Okay, well, what does this have to do with gay people? Prostate cancer. All men are at risk for prostate cancer. In fact, prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men, except for skin cancer, but it's more likely to occur in men of African ancestry, those with a family history of prostate cancer, men older than age 50. I'm not seeing anything to do with being gay here. Testicular cancer. They have a higher risk if they are white, have undescended testicles, have a family history of testicular cancer. Nothing to do with being gay. Colon cancer, inflammatory bowel disease. Uh-oh, I have that. Colon or rectal polyps, personal or family history of colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, lifestyle factors can play a role, smoking, drinking, being overweight, not being active. So literally none of this is to do with being gay. None of it. The best one you have is that anal cancer can be, you can raise the risk of getting anal cancer from having unprotected anal sex. What? You're not proving shit. Why do you think that gay people are more likely to smoke? Do you think that there's something to do with the way that maybe like gay people in a broader community hang out? Maybe they smoke more often? Like, there's so many other arguments you can make here. You're arguing against anal sex and you're arguing against smoking. Those are the arguments you're making. You're not arguing against being homosexual, my friend.
Women, you need to get this checked out and that checked out because your instances are higher of these different cancers. In men who have sex with men who do not have HIV, they are 20 times more likely to get anal cancer. 20 times. In men who have sex with men who are HIV positive, they are 40 times more likely to get anal cancer.
So maybe don't have anal sex? Like, what if there's a gay person that doesn't want to have anal sex?
The list goes on of cancers and things like this. It goes on and on and on, and it's very unpleasant stuff because your heart hurts for people suffering these things. Amongst those who do have AIDS, well,
your heart hurts. Oh, boo-hoo.
Current population, 1.2 million people in the U.S. currently have HIV. 1.2 million people, the majority of which got it through male-to-male sexual behaviors. The HIV, the virus seems to have an affinity for the specific flesh of the rectum. It's without any more details than that. That is its.
Yeah, it's because the rectal wall is a lot thinner and more prone to disease. But again, it's not like if you are HIV free and your partner's HIV free, having anal sex is just gonna like magically make HIV become a thing.
It's a happy place to be. And it's extremely dangerous for men. There are 50,000 new HIV infections every year in the United States. We don't talk about it very much anymore, not since probably the 90s. We sort of stopped talking about it. But there are 50,000 new HIV infections every year. And CDC.gov says that 78% of all new HIV infections are a result of men having sex with men. 78% of these 50,000 infections are men having sex with men. But you've got to keep something in mind. This is really shocking when you realize those who have sex with men on a regular basis is less than 2% in a given year of the population. Less than 2% of the population getting 78% of the HIV infections. What are the odds there? How many times more likely is it? I'm not a mathematician, so I figured it out. I asked a mathematician. It's complicated. I'm sure it is. Yeah. Those stats come from the CDC.gov. They're not from pro-family websites that are trying to twist things. This is just related to not only diseases and those sorts of things.
I like how he keeps bringing up the fact it's from the CDC, but he's leaving out the fact that the CDC also talks about how the stigma contributes to this largely, societal factors contribute to this largely, and discrimination contributes to this largely. He's like leaving all that out. He's just like, look at all the diseases. Oh, man.
But drug and substance abuse are also radically increased amongst the homosexual community for some reason.
For some reason? Why, dude? You can just... Why don't you look this shit up? What is this desperation? Why substance abuse is higher within the LGBT community? Discrimination and social stigma. Despite growing acceptance in the United States, almost all LGBTQ individuals face some level of homophobia and discrimination. This may come from strangers, acquaintances, blah, 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 blah. There is a lack of support. Those who do choose to come out often face rejection from family and as a result often turn to substance abuse to help dull the pain. These are external reasons, bruh. You can't say this is because it's bad to be gay. Again, I love this argument because it always exposes their dipshittery. So white males commit suicide at higher rates. Is it because they're white males? Really? No. There are external reasons there. What an idiot.
Homosexuals were found to have used tobacco in the past 30 days at a rate double the non-homosexual community. 18% of heterosexuals have used tobacco in the past 30 days, whereas 35% of homosexuals. Alcohol abuse has also increased, especially in the lesbian community. 35% of female homosexual women had a history of alcohol abuse, compared to 5% of females in general.
If only there was a reason for this. Again, are you saying it's like they have the gay gene, which makes them want to go chug? Like, come on, man.
So they're 7 times more likely to have alcohol abuse. Other similar statistics come from pro-gay sources that are saying the same thing because they're trying to help these gay people. Like, hey, watch out! You've got this tendency. We have these statistics, and we want you to be careful, which is good. 45% of the LGBT population, according to the Pride Institute, abuse alcohol. 45% versus about 15% of the general population.
Why?
It's not just alcohol and tobacco. 51% of homosexual males have a history of drug abuse, other drugs.
Wait, these are all You realize, my dude, that if we wanted to take this argument, we could just say, okay, is being a Catholic priest immoral? Is it deranged to be a Catholic priest? Have you looked at how often they molest people? You know? Have you ever seen that one? Catholic priests, they commit a molest at pretty high rates, dude. I guess being a Catholic priest is a sin. What a stupid fucking argument.
Compared to 7% in general. Men who have sex with men are 3.5 times more likely to use pot, marijuana, than men who do not have sex with men. These
Based.
men are also 12.2 times more likely to use amphetamines than men who do not have sex with men. They are 9.5 times more likely to use heroin than men who don't have sex with men. There are also increases in the homosexual community in other areas like depression, suicidal thoughts, and attempted suicide. And these things they all seem to go together, substance abuse and this sort of stuff.
I wonder why people who are disproportionately discriminated against and kicked out of their homes because they are gay, largely because of dumb fuck ideas spread by dipshits like this guy, are committing suicide at a higher rate. If only there was some kind of an external reason for that. No, it must just be the gay gene also gives them the suicide gene. I got it.
For the sake of time, I need to move forward, but related to reckless sexual behavior, the number of partners and the brevity of relationships in the homosexual community is radically different than that of the heterosexual community. A study of sexual profiles of 2,583 older homosexuals was published in the Journal of Sex Research, and the most
Is it just me, or do you feel like almost every single point he's made thus far could be debunked with a simple question of why? The University of Chicago provides a great data set on sexual partners. About half of gay men have had 10 or less sexual partners in their life. Okay. Typical gay man had 11 sexual partners. So a very small proportion of them are having like massive amounts. Breaking down the men who had more than 100 sexual partners was for interest's sake. Just 1.9% had more than 400 sexual partners. Holy shit. About 1% had more than 500 partners. And the percentage gets smaller and smaller the higher the body count. Gay men number of sexual partners in the previous year. Roughly 50% of gay men had 0 to 1 sexual partner. And a smaller minority had 10 or more sexual partners. This is pretty common for straight dudes. The majority of gay men had 0 or 1 sexual partner. There's only 1.6% of gay men in Australia that had 50 or more partners. So, congratulations again, you've proven nothing at all. You've literally not proven shit. When we look at this on a statistical level, there's absolutely no basis in claiming that it's because they're gay. This is what religion does to your brain.
A study of sexual profiles of 2,583 older homosexuals was published in the Journal of Sex Research, and the most common response given by 21.6% of the respondents was of having 101 to 500 sex partners over their lifetime.
Oh no. He's not bringing up this one, is he? Uh-oh. Gay men have 500 to 1,000 partners. This was done a long time ago, my friend. It is a source of 28% of homosexuals have 1,000 partners and 43% of homosexuals have 500 partners. Their survey, however, was not representative of homosexuals. It only was representative of their convenient sample of volunteers who were tremendously promiscuous, primarily because they were found in gay bathhouses, hookup spots, gay saunas, and they were prostitutes. Okay, yeah, prostitutes probably have a lot of sex, man. I guess it's also a sin to be a woman, because if I interview a bunch of female prostitutes, we'll find that they have really high body counts.
So the number of partners and the brevity of relationships show a reckless sexual behavior happening inside the homosexual community, and that's a typical thing. Now, it's not every person, but
Can you tell us why that's... Uh-oh, another debunk, guys. Why?
Same-sex long-term relationships are also, they're not a parallel to heterosexual marriage, because even in long-term committed same-sex relationships, they are almost never monogamous. They are almost never faithful to only one partner.
What do you mean almost never? I genuinely don't know if that's true. A study I saw showed that gay people actually stay together longer than straight couples. But, okay.
Frequency of sex outside of the long-term relationship is very common. In one recent study of gay male couples, 41.3% of them, of the couples, had open sexual agreements with some conditions or restrictions. 41% agreed with some conditions we will be able to have sex outside of our relationship with other people. 10%.
Why does this matter? Who? So? Do you honest to God think that this is like intrinsic to being gay? Or do you think that it's that men have higher levels of testosterone? They tend to be way more sexually active and sexually desiring. And so they're more open to more promiscuous behavior. If anything, dude, right now you're just shitting on men. You realize that, right? All right. No more of this bullshit. This guy basically just said men are more promiscuous, so therefore gay bad. Congratulations, pal. I guess being a man is a sin. Please go and smite yourself. In the name of Jesus. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.